Today, I want to talk about the number one issue facing city management executives: fragmentation. Fragmentation is the internal split that forms when your identity, your responsibility, your performance, and your private realities all stop matching. It is the driver behind burnout, overfunctioning, leadership modulation, and the feeling that you're operating at 90% of your full capacity. Until you name fragmentation, you cannot reintegrate. Fragmentation is not stress. It is not workload. It is not politics. It is the accumulation of tiny internal fractures across time. You have the version of you that the public expects. Then there's the version the council believes they hired, the version your staff needs for stability, the version your family hopes walks through the door, and the version of you that carries the truth of the job. All those versions drift apart. The wider the distance becomes, the harder it is to stay grounded in your own center. City management structurally creates this fragmentation. You have very limited room to process anything real that's happening in your career. You cannot vent down because it will destabilize your staff. You can't vent across because peers often become competitors or even political risk. You can't vent up because it feeds narratives that you will spend months repairing. And you can't vent to counsel, the community, or the public. Even at home, the emotional load becomes too heavy to place on the people who are there simply trying to love you. This role requires constant modulation. You think in color, but you have to speak in grayscale. That mismatch is fragmentation, and it shows up long before you notice it. Maybe it's decision fatigue that begins to creep in. Your confidence becomes conditional and tied to the next crisis that you solve. You start carrying the emotional weight of other people's expectations, and your leadership becomes performative instead of based in presence. In reality, you become editing yourself because your identity and your role are no longer aligned. You can still be effective, but the cost rises every year. And executives rarely name this because they believe it signals weakness or a lack of resilience. But it does not. Fragmentation is not a personal flaw. It is a predictable outcome of carrying a role that demands public calm, private clarity, limited transparency, and constant judgment. Most executives assume the job must feel this way, and so they just start normalizing it. They push right through it. And eventually, they begin losing parts of themselves without realizing it. I personally know this pattern because I lived inside of it. 16 years in city management. It taught me that fragmentation is not an individual problem. It's actually a structural one. So now I coach leaders through it every day. When executives come to me, they're not looking for performance strategies. They're looking for themselves. They want clarity. They want relief. They want groundedness again and the ability to lead without feeling split internally. Reintegration will help bring identity, authority, emotional reality, and leadership presence all back into alignment. And it restores the part of you that can think clearly and speak truthfully and lead without carrying the invisible cost. So when you realign your internal architecture, your external performance will then take care of itself. You will stop overfunctioning. You will stop absorbing everyone else's expectations. You will become effective without eroding yourself. So if fragmentation is showing up in your leadership, do not wait for it to reach a breaking point. Start by giving yourself one place where you can think clearly, tell the truth, and get grounded again. That, my friend, is exactly why I built the City Executive Circle. And if you want to learn more or get on the early founders list for the best pricing, go to citybosscoach.com and look for the circle. You will see everything you need. And I really hope you choose to join me and your colleagues. Go to citybosscoach.com/membership to take that next step.